And welcome everybody to the Daily Space Weather. This one's dedicated to Bob Carson. We hope you feel better. You're getting visitors. And happy Thanksgiving to all the rest of our viewers. We hope you're listening. We've got some activity. A little bit of an uptick here in the southern hemisphere. A beta-class sunspot. It's developing some interesting looking fields and umbral structures, really. This is a view from the SDO, the 94 angstroms wavelength. Colorized magnetogram. We're going to zoom in. And the sunspot has not grown. The likelihood of large flares has actually gone up as the umbrae are getting farther apart from each other, in my opinion. That might be up to debate. Feel free to debate in the comments section. Here we've added 171 angstroms to the colorized magnetogram. And I believe there's only one named group here. And it's this group down here in the southern hemisphere. Again, it's likely to produce some significant flares. There's also a coronal mass ejection propagating on the far side of the solar disk. The opposite side of the sun. There's a coronal mass ejection happening as we make the video. We'll get to that a little later. We'll show you the view from the stereo A coronagraph and the LASCO C3. This is 304 angstroms ionized helium. You can see one of these filaments here looks like it just collapsed. That filament certainly looked like it collapsed right back onto the surface. Check it out. Great view of that. One more time. Yowzers. The radio flux has come up to 83, so that filament did not eject. And you notice that we weren't forecasting a coronal mass ejection on the Earth's side of the solar disk. Here's the radio flux. It's at 83. That's a one-year chart, by the way. Here's the Space Weather Enthusiast dashboard, and there is a coronal hole wind stream geomagnetic risk here in 2 days, late in the day on the 27th of November. That's a coronal hole high-speed stream. Also, there's an earthquake drought going on, and we saw a 6 magnitude quake come in as we were doing show prep here. So northeast of Australia there, near Leyte. And this area has set off tsunamis in the past. It's also the deep quake capital of the world. A 6.0 magnitude quake there coming in at 12:04 Universal Time today on Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, by the way, folks. A little bit busy over here at the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. Perhaps we'll make a video about that later. And we're just going to scroll up the list here. We don't have time to mention all these quakes, but you'll at least have them on your screen. Bolivia saw a deep quake at 4.6 magnitude. Also Chile, a 4.6 deep quake. Solomon Islands, a 4.9. Deeper than 100-kilometer quake there. South Sandwich Islands, a 5.0. Some Hawaiian quakes as well happening there. We're not going to get too into it. Some activity off the coast of British Columbia and Oregon, it looks like, as well. As far as volcanoes, La Palma's still erupting. It's probably going to continue to erupt for a while, folks. It's quite significant. Karinsky volcanic ash not identifiable. Don't assume Karinsky's not erupting. I'm sure you're not on vacation at Karinsky. Sakurajima, flight level 7,000 feet there. 7,000 altitude ash plume, flight level 070. Suwanosejima, flight level 070 there as well. Semeru, located in East Java, Indonesia, is exploding. Don't pole vault the caldera. It's producing a 14,000 foot plume of volcanic ash. Fuego, 15,000 foot ash plume. Nevado del Ruiz, 20,000 foot ash plume. Sangay in Ecuador, as well as Revenador, 20,000 and 14,000 foot ash plumes there, respectively. Over the aesthetically pleasing nation of Ecuador. Sabancaya, unable to detect whether it's erupting. Don't assume it's not if you're in the area. And Nevados de Chilean, located in central Chile. A little bit of extra stuff here. Magma may be accumulating into... magma may be growing in both domes, so perhaps Nevados de Chilean is fixing for a more significant eruption here. That's interesting. It's a 15,000-foot ash plume at the moment from its volcanic ash. Welcome to the Neo-Renaissance, by the way. Have you checked out our homepage, smashomash.com? Check out the smAsho merch link. There's another sale going on. The early sale at the Redbubble shop, Cyber 5. Get deals. And there are our designs. Do you know somebody that worships at the cult of St. Fauci? Get them a Fauci bath mat. Or perhaps tell people Universum Liberate. You can probably figure out what that means. You're on the internet. These are in order of best selling, by the way. Today's featured product is, and thanks to, the Smash team. So I'm wearing a design based on that now. And there it is on the Redbubble site. You can get it in all kinds of different styles. Hats, mouse pads, tank tops. You can even get a Smash Team mini skirt tapestry. A Smash Team clock. So once again, thanks to the Smash Team. And don't forget that Cyber 5 promo code when you hit up the store. Once again, links at smashomash.com. We hope you're not consuming too much fraud on the internet. This is a YouTube exclusive, by the way, which is sort of brings up this little factor. By the way, we're paid just this side of nothing to put the videos on YouTube. Next, the magnetic lines of data. It's the GO 16 and 17. 3-day chart there, looking pretty normal and smooth, really. Not a lot of space weather headed our way at the moment. Let's shrink that down. It's the top view of the plane field plot. And Earth is in a North Pole current sheet at the moment. And we expect to remain there for the foreseeable future. Keep in mind the magnetic environment can change quite quickly. As you're probably well aware, sunspots can suddenly grow and shrink and so on. Here's a line of sight view. Solar magnetogram showing that beta-class sunspot in the southern hemisphere. We'll get to that momentarily with some greater analysis. Check out the coronal holes. We've got trans-equatorial North Pole-oriented coronal holes here. And these are likely to bring some geomagnetic events. Perhaps a geomagnetic storm may be produced by that. We'll be keeping an eye on that, pardon the pun. Here's 193 angstroms. We're going to shrink that down. This is a 48-hour video. We want to show you the transit of those coronal holes. Those are South Pole-oriented ones, and those are going to be the source of the geomagnetic unrest in a couple of days. If it happens, I would tend to say it will. And you can see these North Pole-oriented coronal holes up here starting to make their way into view. The solar corona is very bumpy. And it's quite three-dimensional. It doesn't, viewing it from only this angle doesn't really do a full service to how three-dimensionally complex the solar corona is. But we've got limitations. It's a star, by the way. And anyway, so 2898 is that sunspot AR2898. It's a beta-class sunspot group. And does have the capacity to produce significant flares. You can see the flare monitor, the flare probability here, just at about 33%. Here's the flaring profile over the past 3 days, and you can see it's been quite inactive as far as producing flares. No spikes in the proton flux there. Some missing data. We'll have people claiming on YouTube that NASA is hiding it. Here's a real-time solar wind. Pretty nominal levels here. 443 kilometers a second there for the solar wind speed. Solar wind density about 6 protons per cubic centimeter. KP index at 1. For you new viewers, that's a measurement of global geomagnetism. You can read about it on this page if you like. There's a details tab there for you. And let's look at a likely model of Earth's magnetic moment from space. This is out to about 12 Earth radii. The scale that you're seeing here is the magnetohydrodynamic pressure expressed in nanopascals. And the model used is the space weather modeling framework. It uses lots and lots of data like the electron flux and so on. Pretty homogeneous here over the past 4 hours. Ground magnetic perturbations are next. And this is Earth's magnetic moment from the surface of the planet. As many of you may well know, you're going to see different potential field surface source lines at the surface of a planet than you will in space, or very close to any magnet, or a little farther away from a magnet. This gives us some insight into Earth's activities, like polar excursions. It's 4 hours of data as well. Here's a diagram of the solar system. Please don't be frightened of planets. We find it horrifying that lots of people on YouTube are frightened of planets. Just stop. Let's advance this 1 week. There's your solar system forecast for 1 week. Approaching a new moon, my favorite phase, as I am a reverse werewolf. And now we're on in-the-sky.org. We've got the moon. We've got Mars and Mercury and the sun. Visible if you've got a low horizon at Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. Next, coronal mass ejection time. Here's the view from stereo A and the LASCO C3. You've also got Mercury in this imagery. Great coronal mass ejection there. Nowhere near Earth facing, as Earth is off in this direction. It's just a spectacular light show, folks. It's billions of tons of plasma being blasted into space, the size of planets. It's very diffuse gas, though, folks. Today's cosmology segment's ultra short because there's a lot of things to do. Check out the eclipse pics. This is the astronomy picture of the day at apod.nasa.gov. And that's today's cosmology segment. Check our playlist for like 230 more cosmology videos. youtube.com/smAshomash/playlists. Electrons can charge satellites. Protons too. Especially the relativistic kind. In this case, we don't see any charging hazards. And now we're in the realm of electron flux. That's a 1-year chart. Here's a 3-day chart. And we may flirt with warning levels again today. You can see there were some minor warnings there on both the GOES 16 and 17. Past couple of days. Here's the forecast for flat levels of electron flux. Next, we're going to show you the total electron content forecast, which is basically the electrons in the inner Van Allen belts. Sometimes they get chaotic. They'll probably be pretty orderly. That's my forecast. Let's see what the forecast of the forecast looks like. We've got some anomalies over North America, the Indian Ocean, and that's likely to cause GPS errors if you're only using your GPS for your location services. For example, when I ride the bike, I typically turn on Wi-Fi location services in order to get a more accurate reading, especially if I'm seeing the likelihood of GPS errors because of high electron flux. Those satellites are 12,500 miles up, and they've got to communicate with your handset through a lot of electrons. One layer of the atmosphere is the F ionosphere layer, which we're going to show you next. An ionogram and an anomalygram. So here's the ionogram. Somehow it strangely refreshed. It's back to normal. And some high-frequency anomalies happening here over the Pacific Ocean, it looks like. Let's take a look at this. Also, low-frequency anomalies around the weakest part of Earth's magnetosphere there, the South Atlantic anomaly, now over the South American continent, as it's moving. As all magnetic aspects of the planet are probably always moving. And if you've got theories as to the physics behind that, please let us know. We've got some theories. We may have to write some papers about this. Anyway, back to the ionogram. We'll show the latest image from both There's the ionogram and there's the anomalygram from 1330 Universal Time. Let's do bonus features. First, it's Cerro Tololo, Chile's ground-based solar observatory here. You can see filaments continuing down in the southern hemisphere. Sunspot 2898. Here's the latest intensitygram and the latest magnetogram. See those umbrae continuing to spread apart and getting this spiral-like appearance to it. Pretty sweet. It is beta class, likelihood of flares a little higher with that sunspot. There are the fields, and you can see significant fields there, and they are spreading apart, which in my opinion does increase the likelihood of flares. Let's go to the SDO instead. And there's a sweet 48-hour 171 angstroms. Series of images there from the Solar Dynamics Observatory. Once again, happy Thanksgiving. Everybody who's having a bad time in the hospital, etc., feel better. And to all you viewers out there, keep each other in your prayers. Thanks to each of you. And may that solar wind be at your back. Opinions expressed in the video and on merch are not necessarily the opinions of Smash News Network, least busted. Name and news.